Mr. Tice, we understand that later today at Windsor Castle, the King is going to say of the United Kingdom and France, I quote, "Our two countries face a multitude of complex threats emanating from multiple directions. These challenges know no borders. No fortress can protect us against them this time." Is the King right? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I think tens of millions of British people would wish that there are borders. That's the whole point of sovereignty, of being a independent nation. That's the whole point of Brexit.
So the King's gone soft on this then, Mr. Tice, hasn't he? He says there are no borders.
Well, there should be borders, but regrettably, there are no borders at the moment. You've just been talking about how 20,000 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel just this year, and it seems that the more money we send to the French, the more migrants they send in return. Where's the performance-related link between the two? If the migrants stop, then maybe we send you some money. But at the moment, this situation is getting far worse. And as for this one in, one out, ludicrous proposal, you know exactly what's going to happen. There is going to be a surge in criminal faking of so-called relationships with long-lost aunts and uncles by people crossing the Channel, and many of those who are currently here will also all of a sudden discover all sorts of historic family relationships with people here. This is a ludicrous proposal that should be shoved in the dustbin.
What line should the Prime Minister be taking with President Macron later today, Mr. Tice?
Well, first of all, Nigel Farage is clearly very disappointed not to be given the same opportunity to meet President Macron that Kemi Badenoch and Ed Davey are being given, because what the Prime Minister should be saying is what we're saying, which is, Monsieur President, either you stop the migrant boats or we'll stop your fishing boats. It's a very simple message, and all of a sudden you'd have French fishermen clogging up the Champs-Élysées, and this issue would possibly stop. We need some proper negotiating leverage.
Is that what is known as the Entente? Is that the Entente Cordiale, Mr. Tice, that we suddenly stop their fishing vessels?
Well, at the end of the day, you can be a critical friend, and that's what we need to do, because at the moment, frankly, the French authorities, the gendarmes, they're having a laugh. I mean, we send them the money, they give the French gendarmes fishing lessons, and the old Stanley knife, that just purely for the BBC's viewing figures, they sort of put one knife into one boat. I mean, the whole thing is outrageous, and the British people know it. And what we should be doing is we should be saying to the French, you have a legal obligation under the 1982 UN Convention of the Law of the Sea to pick up and take back. The Belgian authorities are doing it, and the boats stop coming from Belgium. French domestic law also requires them to do it, but they're refusing to do it.
Lastly, what do you imagine, or why do you imagine that President Macron will not be meeting? As you rightly point out, he's meeting with Sir Keir Starmer, Sir Ed Davey and Kemi Badenoch. Why not Nigel Farage?
Well, it should be, because clearly we're polling way ahead of all of those other parties. I think it's because the establishment here know that Nigel would just tell it as it is, and would make it very clear to President Macron that this crisis has to stop. And when we get into power after the next general election, we will stop it.
Listening to that is Gerald Knaus, who's founding chairman of the European Stability Initiative and a founding member of the European Council on Foreign Relations, and he joins us from Berlin. Very much for coming on, Mr. Knaus. What do you want to see the mood or the tone set between our Prime Minister and the French President today? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning from Berlin. Well, listen, I think the realistic proposal here is an ambitious one that recognizes that it is in the interest also of the European Union to demonstrate that you can control irregular migration. The European Union has a problem with people leaving Senegal for Spain or coming across the central Mediterranean. And to prove in the Channel that you can stop the smugglers and make the crossing meaningless through cooperation is important not just for British EU or British-French relations. It's also important to demonstrate how in the future elsewhere migration, irregular migration that is often deadly and very often inhumane, can be stopped. So it's not, it's something the EU should do in its own interest. And I see that debate changing in Europe in this direction.
So how does that cooperation look? What does it look like in practical terms?
The key point is to make it meaningless to get into a boat. This has been the secret of success when in the Aegean in 2016, the EU and Turkey agreed, and the numbers fell to 3% within a few weeks because there was a cut-off date, at that time 18th of March 2016, And the message was, anybody after that date that crosses will be processed with an inadmissibility, will be checked individually, but can be sent back, and Turkey agreed to take them. So I think the key will be the message. If France and Britain can send a message that they are determined this summer, and I don't think it needs to take long. In the case of Turkey, the fall in numbers was very quick. But where your previous interview partner was wrong is you can only do that if both sides have an incentive. So the French or other European countries participating need to see that this is also in their interest. So
good morning, Nick. I do listen to your show sometimes. Sometimes I quite enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it when you give completely false information over the live radio, Nick. Where have you managed to find that apparently illegal immigrants get given mobile phones?
That would be the case of Ahmed Ibid, who was convicted in May. He was supposedly a penniless Egyptian fisherman who came here, was given a council flat, a mobile phone, and within a month had organised the first of the people trafficking gangs that, upon conviction, he'd arranged for 3,800 people to illegally cross the channel.
OK, so you've said one.
Well,
you said one, and I'm pretty sure you know the numbers.
He's one of many. I don't have all their names.
So how many of...
Neil, I don't... No, hold on. You asked for where I got it from. The court was told, it was shown in court, he will be one of many. You asked, there's one. I mean, I haven't got all their names. Of course I haven't.
So on the basis of one person, you say that all illegal immigrants get mobile phones?
There will be many more, Neil. There will be. It is a heck of a draw that you come here, you get, in his case, council accommodation and a phone, and he arranged for 3,800 people to check out the case. Ahmed Ibid, have a look at it. And he's not the only one.
That's one person,
No, you
Nick.
keep saying that. That's. Of course it's one person, but it speaks to the abuse. As in many instances, that speaks to the abuse that is available. Of course I can't give you all their names, Neil, and I think it's a little bit strange that you expect I can reel off all their names. Lastly, come on. Or do it your way. Just do it your way, and don't believe that there is. And we will just continue to see tens of thousands of people come here, some of whom will perish at sea. Do it your way.
But I've not said that, though, have I?
Well, I am saying you have to stop the draw. You have to stop the pull factor. Neil, what are you saying in a sentence?
I'm saying that the pull factor is the fact that there are all these war-torn countries and people are leaving their war-torn countries.
That's not going to stop it, is it? That's what's happening there. We are where we are. We're not where we might want to be without their countries being in some form of disruption or unrest.
The thing is, the way I see it is, if you was the French, they've got all these migrants that have passed their way through the various countries to get to France.
Yeah.
And basically, why on earth would you try and stop them coming to the UK?
No reason on earth. No, just help
exactly.
them.
They want to pass them on. And I think it's all a bit of a publicity stunt with the dinghy getting slashed just before Macron comes over. Mm-hmm. But, it's just laughable that we're actually paying them money and they're doing absolutely nothing about it. And the way that it's got to be stopped is by, the French actually doing what they're being paid for, which I can't ever see that changing. I
think you're right. I have seen, I must admit I didn't see the video, but I saw the still photographs of someone slashing the boat. It is a publicity stunt. They won't be doing that last night. They won't be doing it tonight. I mean,
you see other things where different people go over and video things, and you see it where they actually are just watching them go into the water. So it just conveniently, the cameras were there. I think the thing is that everybody is wise to it and everybody sees it now, and that's the difference where people now are seeing things for exactly what they are, unfortunately.
Lastly, Brett, when the King says, when it comes to this, there are no borders, I know the point he's driving at, but I don't think he's quite got the language right, with the greatest respect to him, of course. What would you say?
I mean, there's borders on every country, and there has to be. The only thing that you can do, really, to help as well is to take away any any luxuries, or if people knew they were coming here like anyone else,
absolutely,
into a country illegally,
you're right,
and they were put into a detaining centre or even prison, which I know that might sound extreme, then people will stop.
It's called the pull factor, Brett, and I'm with you on that. I don't know that I'd go so far as putting them in prison, but no, you're not going to get your mobile phone, you're not going to get any money, and you're going in a migrant camp. You're not going to be in a 3-star hotel, and I would bring that in this afternoon. Brett, I'm with you on that.
For some time, I thought, well, the money should be spent quite clearly in putting them up in hotels in France.
Oh, I see. But that won't stop them. Their determination, of course, is to get to the United Kingdom.
But if the pull factor is the hotels and support they get here, to provide the money that we give to them to buy hotels in France, and then if they've got hotels in France, it's ridiculous that they're in tents, isn't it?
It is, and it's horrific for them. Do you, again, just quick word on the King, do we have a border, do you think?
Well, he lives in an ideal world, doesn't he?
I suppose he does. Steve, thank you. Again, I think I know the point that the King is trying to get across, that there are no borders here, but we do need to enforce those borders, and surely if we are to find a solution, that's what this has to be about.
Everyone keeps moaning about the immigrants, the poor immigrants, and they keep saying it's them. They're going to want to come across this country to try and earn a living, etc., etc. They're not the problem. I think the French are. And I think what we should do with the French is put tariffs on them. I don't know where I've got that idea from, but we should tariff all their food, their drink, etc., etc.
No.
So for
Why do
every
we want
immigrant
a trade war, Bert? Why do we want a trade war?
Well, the thing is, I know it's a trade, but we're hurting already. We're getting nothing from this partnership. We're giving them money to the French. And the immigrants are still coming across.
But then they would almost certainly have the equivalent of their border force work to rule at their place in Dover and elsewhere. So our lorries would be backed up, never mind through Kent, they'd probably be backed up to the Midlands, wouldn't they, Bert?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, we've got to do something with these characters, and they don't seem to be doing anything at the moment. And I'm sure we could come out of some other port, shouldn't we? Where we could do if we wanted to.
Is it not the pull factor, lastly, Bert? These people, when they get here, they don't get hotel rooms, they don't get a living allowance, they don't get mobile phones. Isn't that the reality?
Well, what do you mean? Sorry, say it again.
The asylum seekers, if they get here, they don't get hotel rooms. They go to a holding centre somewhere. They don't.
But they smash them up, don't they? We've had that before. You send them to some military place where they go to. Yeah. What they do, they burn it, they smash it up, and they start complaining that there isn't. They're not being treated well enough.
Well, maybe then it's the HCR, and then we come out of it, by the way, and then we just take them back. But thank you for your views. I'm not sure a trade war is the answer, and I think I know where you got the idea. Have yourself a good day.